What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another movie review. I'm Chase Lee, and the movie I'm going to take a look at right now is Judy. Now, this one comes from Roadside Attraction. It is directed by Rupert Gould, and this one stars Renée Zellweger as the iconic entertainer that we know as Judy Garland. And this focuses on a specific time in her life in 1968 when she's performing a bunch of concerts in London. And unfortunately, this is kind of like the last last performance that she has in front of audiences because tragically, she passes away a few months after this kind of concert run at the very young age of like 46, 47, like super young, like went way too young. And she had a whole lot of life to give, but unfortunately, her life was taken off this planet Earth. And so, so that's what the movie is basically about. And, going into this, I saw the first trailer. I thought it looked solid. I was like, cool. I love biopics. I'm a sucker for them. Please give me all of them. And so this was the next one up after, I've seen like Rocket Man and, I got to see stuff like Harriet. But biopics are always in season, if you will, throughout the entirety of the year, every single year. And I always look forward to them. But the one thing about this movie that made it stand out was Renée Zellweger and her performance. Like, this was the driving narrative behind the online chatter and conversation was her performance is going to be awards worthy, Oscar consideration, SAG consideration. Like, this was the performance to look at in the Best Actress lead category. And so, super stoked about that. So, hey, this movie came out in September. I'm finally catching up to it in December. And I thought that I thought it was fine. I thought it was an overall fine biopic experience. It's a very standard one. All the bells and whistles are there. Kind of just goes through, the motions with her leaving her kids, going to London. She's facing a lot of inner turmoil from, stuff that happened in her childhood and her early on in her career. And, we just kind of see her interact with, agents and assistants and, potential lovers and everything. It's just, and then the movie ends and it kind of tells you that she passed away shortly after. And you're like, okay, that was fine. But yes, this movie anchors on and lives and dies by the performance. We'll get into that in just a second. But I think what Rupert Gould did in terms of presenting us a vision of this entertainer, I thought was serviceable, where he showed the lavish kind of personality and entertainer that Judy Garland was. He showcased how good of a singer she was, and Renée Zellweger actually did her own singing, so that's awesome. Showcased her singing, showcased her relationship with her kids, and how she was on movie sets and how she interacts with fans and, what she's feeling inside emotionally. Like, I just thought all that stuff he kind of tackled was good and kind of showcasing that and building her character because this is a character movie. But I also thought he just skimmed the surface in terms of tackling substance abuse or alcohol abuse or growing up in the industry as a kid or, mother, son, and daughter relationship. Like, everything was there. I just thought it was just kind of skimming the surface and it didn't really dive deep enough below that to make me go, wow, that was such a powerful film. This was just more of like, wow, what a great performance in a okay movie. So yeah, I thought pretty solid direction from Rupert Gould. I thought the production design and the costuming was great. This is in the late 60s, so everything has got to be colorful and poppy and flashy, and it's a really well-dressed movie, and you kind of have to have that if you're going to have it in 1968, so I think they did just that. Okay, all that out of the way, let's talk about the acting. I'm going to start my way from the bottom all the way up. All the supporting players are pretty good. I like Jessie Buckley quite a bit. She's probably my second favorite behind Renée Zellweger. She has the most screen time with her, really kind of almost like being her conscience in a way. Like, she's the one that kind of keeps track of her, so like an assistant and everything, but she's also the one that she talks to if she has problems, and I kind of like that back and forth because this is a person that seemed pretty neutral and didn't really have any bias towards her or anything. It was just like, was just there to listen and to give advice. And I kind of love that about her. A very, very grounded character that was very needed for Judy Garland to kind of bring her back to planet Earth a little bit. But Jessie Buckley, pretty good job. And then everyone else I thought did pretty great. People would pop up like Michael Gambon, good old Dumbledore, or the guy from American Horror Story. Everyone just pops up in this movie and you're like, oh, you were from this, or oh, you were from this. And it was a really cool little treasure hunt. Where's Waldo, if you will. Hey, look, there's that person. But Renée Zellweger, let's talk about her for a second, because that's what everyone's focusing on this movie, and rightfully so. She is good in this movie. It took me a while to actually get into her performance, and I don't know if that was because it felt like an impression of Judy Garland, and it didn't feel like she was becoming her. It just felt like, oh, she's trying out like an accent, trying out posturing and cadences and inflections and the voice and everything. It felt like a trial run within the first like 10 to 15 minutes, but I got to admit that I slowly started getting into it, and by the end of the movie I was like, okay, I think like 85% of that movie was a good performance, and even flourishes of great. And she definitely elevated the material because it needed a pulse. It needed some life injected into it, because it was just flatlining the whole time. Nothing really wrong with it, no spikes up and down, but just it was just there. But she injected life into the movie, and that's what you need with a big personality that is Judy Garland. But yes, Renée Zellweger is pretty good in the movie, and I love the fact that she was very committed into the singing, and she took vocal lessons, and she did all the singing herself. Like, that takes commitment, and it sounded just like Judy Garland, so I will give her credit on that. It was very painful and disheartening to watch her in some scenes, because there was a lot of pain that she was kind of going through behind the curtains, because in front of the curtain she's very lovable, she's very kind to everyone, and everyone loves watching her, but there was a darkness inside of her, and it was because of her childhood early on in the film industry, and how people treated her psychologically and emotionally, and told her not to eat and stuff. Like, it's really bad, and it's just like that like there's just so much weight on this person's shoulders, and so much pain that she's just coming out of every single line of dialogue that she has, especially when she breaks down, or when she needs alcohol to like sustain herself. It's rough to watch. And I think Renee did a pretty good job showing us once again why she is one of the better ones out there, even though she had a long hiatus at one point. This is a kind of great big movie to come back to and really kind of sink your red slippers into, and really kind of show us why you're one of the greats. And Renée Zellweger just proves once again she is able to commit to a role and show us a bunch of range, and this movie does that quite well. And I think really showcasing the good and the bad that Judy Garland came with. Because once again, like I said, with Rupert Gould's direction, he didn't sugarcoat anything. Like, there is a lot of darkness with Judy. She is not 100% perfect, but that's what I like about this, is that from Renee to Rupert, everyone was willing to show her as a human being, and not showcase her as this like grand good thing the whole time, or bad thing the whole time. Like, she's just a human, and you want to just get inside that movie and just help her, and you're like, Judy, stop doing what you're doing. Like, your kids love you. Like, you have a good life. It was great, good stuff. But yeah, I just really nothing more to say. I will say that the last thing I wanted to point out was the music. Everything that Renee sang, interpretations of Judy's songs, it warms the heart, because it just showed you how powerful of an entertainer that Judy was. And I think all the singing that Renee did in the film was, one, authentic, and two, it got to me in the heart, and I really appreciate that. So I'm going to give Judy, unfortunately, a C+. I'm going to give it the plus because of Renee, but The movie's fine, but the performance is good enough. I was debating on a B-, so C+, B-, take it for what you will. But I do think she will get nominated. I don't know if she'll win yet. I gotta see all the performances this year. But a nomination, I think, is warranted. So what do you guys think of Judy, or have you even heard of it? Comment that places right below my face and let me know. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and like this video or like this review. Subscribe to wherever and get up to dates on whatever movie reviews I do. That will do it for this review, though. I'm Chase Lee, and tune in next time for whatever I review next. I will see you guys later.